All right. Fangraph says the Cubs have a 13% chance of winning the division. They have the second easiest schedule. The Brewers have the 10th hardest. Is Fangraphs wrong? Should that percentage be higher?
No, I think that percentage, frankly, is already too high as it is.
Wow. Okay.
You think the Cubs, if they do the rest of the season 8 times, are winning one of those times?
Yes.
That feels high. That feels high to me. And I would have loved to have had this conversation last week, as opposed to now when they've won 3 in a row and have been looking a little bit better. I just buy Milwaukee, man. I think they've done it long enough now. I think they have the kind of depth that, at this time of year when guys are banged up and they need a day off, and it's just like they know they're going to the playoffs, and so it's sort of going to be a slog through then. I think they've got the number of guys more than just about any other team to withstand that. But I also absolutely foresee a scenario, even if the Cubs don't win the division, where they can win the pennant. Like, I am far from out on them. And I think Cade Horton's development over the last couple of months has suggested to me that this team is more dangerous than they might get credit for. It's not just going to be Imanaga and Boyd and a big question mark after that. I think Cade Horton's proven himself the guy there. And if you have 3 reliable starters going into the postseason and a lineup like they do and defense the way that they play it and base running like they can, you got to get either Tucker or Crow Armstrong hot again. But if that happens, then I think the Cubs that we saw that were ahead of the Brewers in the standings could show up again, even if they don't wind up on top of the division.
I think as Jeff Passan joins us, I think Jesse's got a story coming out on the Brewers. Tomorrow, I want to get your opinion, though, and tie this in with the Cubs for our audience, Jeff. Like, to me, it feels like the Brewers these last 6-7 years have developed like the Brewers way. Like Theo stated that when he took over the Cubs, he wanted to make it a Cubs way. And before that, it was the Cardinals way. Like the Cardinals, it just seems like the Brewers are the new Cardinals, where they don't have as high of resources as the Cubs. They lost their GM. They lost their manager. And yet they lose players. And yet they keep on winning. What do they have or do better than the Cubs, in your opinion?
That's interesting comparing them to the Cardinals. I've never thought that, because I've always looked at the Brewers more like the Rays and the Guardians, just because of resources, right? The resources that the Cardinals have are middle of the pack. The resources that the Guardians and the Rays have are near the bottom. And if you look at Milwaukee's payroll every year, that's pretty much the same, right? Like, the Brewers don't spend money. They don't spend money on free agents particularly. Here's what they do better than the Cubs. They have made significantly better trades than the Cubs, because if you go and look at the number of guys on that team who have been acquired via trade, it's the top of the roster, it's the bottom of the roster. Like, they are very good at building teams that have depth. I think player development-wise, the Brewers are better there too. Just look at who's come from within the system, whether it's Jackson Chourio, and I don't think that there's a player that the Cubs have developed in recent years who's as good as Chourio. But beyond that, Jacob Misiorowski, a guy who just based on stuff alone could and should have been a first-round pick, but slipped down to the second round because a lot of people saw relief there, and yet the Brewers have treated him from the jump as a starter. They believe that they could get him consistent enough throwing strikes where he could be an effective starting pitching, and so there's that. And internationally lately, they have been better than the Cubs as well. They've been better than just about anyone, getting Jesus Mate, Luis Pena. This was a team that was not a player at all on the international scene. And the Brewers, what they do well is they put processes in place and they stick by them, sometimes to their detriment, but most of the time to their benefit. And they have benefited greatly in putting together this team that I think is going to be the Cubs' greatest threat over the next half decade in the National League Central.
Yeah, and I'm writing about them tomorrow for ESPN.com. A couple things. First of all, Silvy, we didn't talk about this, but you bring up the Cardinals. In my research and I talked to their owner, Mark Antanasio. He said he has followed the Cardinals' kind of blueprint.
Yeah, that's who they remind me of, this scrappy team.
That's what he said. He brought up Bill DeWitt's Cardinals because, of course, he thinks of, at the ownership level and just, maybe lower payroll, but also forward thinking, that kind of stuff. But I agree with Jeff. It's not apples to apples, Brewers and Cardinals. The other thing is I just think that, Jeff, we've all talked about this, wrote about it, like big market versus small market. Like there's something freeing, if that's the right word, about the small markets that know what they're doing. They stay in their lane and they become great at exactly what they need to. And in Milwaukee's case under Murphy, there's a little bit more of a college feel where they are somehow treating every game of 162 really important, and they're addressing mistakes in the moment. It's things you don't normally think you can do over 162, but they're kind of doing it and not sort of running out of gas. So that's some of the stuff that I learned in talking to them and how they go about their business.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think it's a very astute point. That especially that's where the depth comes into play. That's where if you have different guys playing multiple positions, if you have lefty-righty platoons and guys playing their role. I mean, Andrew Vaughn's a perfect example, right? Like the Brewers early on put him in the position to find success, and once he found it, they expanded it a little and tested it. And if Andrew Vaughn had just hit left-handed pitching and wasn't doing anything against right-handed pitching, then he would have stuck with left-handed pitching, and they would have figured out another option at first base. But obviously he's done an exceptional job of adjusting when one of the worst teams in baseball essentially gets rid of you. It's the kind of thing that can make you question yourself. And instead of questioning himself, he just came right back out and said, you know what, I'm going to prove who I am, and that's what he's done.
MLB insider Jeff Passan from ESPN joining us. Waddle and Silvy. Jesse's in for Waddle, unfortunately. I want to ask you, Jeff, about Tucker. Two-part question on Tucker. How surprised are you of how poorly he has slumped, like how long it has lasted? And B, how much money do you believe he has lost in free agency?
I am very surprised because among Kyle Tucker's great qualities, consistency might be at the top. You just know every year you're going to get like 5 wins above replacement from him. And there's comfort in that if you're a team. It's why the Cubs traded for him, because they understood that he's a guy who does things consistently and that they're going to presumably get that from him. Well, they haven't gotten that from him, unfortunately. And I hope he picks things back up because, the price there was in a free fall for a little while. And I think, last time I came on, what did I say? 450 is the over-under.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably more like 400 now. But it can go back up. If he goes on a heater in September, or if he – okay, hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm at my kid's school getting ready to pick him up from cross-country practice, and he's climbing a very large fence that he should not be climbing. He is not coordinated enough to be climbing this fence.
Part of the training.
He's a Passan. He's not coordinated enough.
The shot for
that's fine. This uncoordinated bum still beat you at pickleball. So what does that make you?
Not very good. That's for sure.
Look, Jeff, you are a great dad when it comes to pickup, because the last time we talked to you, you were picking up your son as well.
I mean, there are some parts of this job that can be unrelenting, but the schedule can be nice if you're willing to work like absurd hours late at night.
Well, I was going to say Sarah's going to be doing the pickups in October. That's right.
That is yes, I hope so, because otherwise the child's going to be stranded at school. All right, all the kids are now at the fence. Apparently, they changed the passcode of the fence.
Oh.
Because they're all standing outside. You would think that they would be able to, figure out a way around this. Like, it's kids and technology. They should know, shouldn't they?
I don't know. Like, I think they're just coming up with clever sayings for stuff and don't come up with solutions to anything.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right. So, and then one thing I wanted to ask you as well, on the other side of town, and I know they're not in this.
Okay. I'm glad. I'm not even going to let you ask a question on this. I'm going to jump in because I thought I was going to. Did either of you realize that since the All-Star break, the Chicago White Sox are ranked 7th in wins above replacement on Fangraphs in both hitting and pitching?
It's incredible.
And not 7th in the American League, 7th in all of Major League Baseball.
What they've done at the plate, to me, is the most surprising thing.
They're slugging.
I mean, Colson Montgomery's story alone, I'm sure that's what you wanted to bring up, Silvy. Amazing.
Yeah, and I'm glad that, like, because I didn't know, like, how much an insider like you, I know you've got to be aware of all 30 teams. Sometimes these Sox fans, and you're home for the Sox, feel slighted, especially by our network sometimes. So, Jeff, like, to me, I know it doesn't fit the description of the award. But if there ever was a comeback story, a season within the season, it's what Colson Montgomery has done. He was left for dead. We were poking fun at them that here this one top prospect is going to the Arizona Fall League, demoted from AAA. We're like, this is devastating. There's no chance this kid's ever going to be anything. And like a month or two later, he is hitting home runs on every day of the weekend, including a grand slam. It is an incredible story. And so my question in that is your thoughts on what Montgomery has done, and have the Sox figured something out with Chris Getz at the helm?
I think they are definitely headed in the right direction. And I was one of those guys too. I was incredibly high on Colson Montgomery, and then just hearing from scouts over the last couple of years, I had softened a little bit and was wondering, is he going to be a first baseman? That was the question that I thought. Like, are they going to have to move him over? And if they do, is he going to hit enough? The power is very clearly there. The swing decisions, they need to do some work on that. But when you have a young player, that's the kind of thing that you can improve on. And I just think that looking at the White Sox right now, my question for them coming into this season was how many guys by the end of the year are going to be playing who you could reasonably think will be in the starting lineup 3 years down the road, right?
Yep.
I think the answer to that right now is Kyle Teal, definitely. He's good.
Yep.
And he is having a better year, I think, than most people realize. Miguel Vargas, 50-50. Like, he has been better, but is the bat going to be enough? Lenyn Sosa, he's been good this year too. I don't know if he's going to be around in 3 years, but he's been solid. Chase Mydroth, yep, I think he can be a guy. I think he can be a shortstop or second baseman. Colson Montgomery, absolutely. In the outfield, nothing right now. Like, they need to go out and sign a couple of outfielders. And I don't know if that's for next season or for a couple seasons beyond, but if they're going to compete, they need better production from their outfield, and of course DH as well. They got an open spot there, but that's at least 4 guys, and honestly, that's more than I thought that was going to be.
I would add Edgar Caro to that mix, right? I mean, he's having a really good,
sure.
yeah,
good for sure. I think at the end of the day, Jesse, they're going to trade one of the catchers.
Sure, right.
I don't know which one it's going to be. I would assume Caro. But, maybe the offer for Teal is so good and fills spots that they go with that. And by the way, the pitching, like the starting pitching in particular, it's, I don't know if any of the guys, whether it's Davis Martin or Shane Smith, when he gets healthy, Drew Thorpe, which of those guys are going to be there long term? I don't know that any of them are much better than like 4s or 5s. Maybe you got a 3 there, so they need top of the rotation type arms, but at least they filled it with serviceable innings this year. They don't. Last year they looked like the worst team ever and were. This year they do not look like the worst team ever, and I actually think they're playing a little bit above what their record is.
Yeah, no doubt. Last thing, Jeff, you and I are going to be covering the labor situation very soon. CBA's up in a year. I think we haven't talked about it recently too much. I think it depends on who you talk to daily here, but I think I'm probably a little bit more pessimistic about, a lockout. You're maybe a little bit more optimistic about avoiding one. But here's my feeling, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm going to use Theo Epstein's line, if not now, when in terms of a salary cap. Like, I feel like the owners are going to end up feeling that way. If not now, when? This is their best chance, especially if the Dodgers repeat. Where are you on that kind of thing? I mean, if they're ever going to go for it, it feels like this is the time to do it.
Why wouldn't it be after the television deals are in place? That to me is like, and I might be wrong, but to me so much hinges on after the 2028 season and after expansion is in place. And I just feel like there are too many moving parts in the business of baseball right now to toss a nuclear bomb in there that has like a 2-minute countdown and say, okay, boys, either we do this or we're just going to blow the whole thing up. I get why owners want to do it. They want to juice their franchise value. It's very simple. But I'm sorry, a salary cap is not a panacea for the problems that baseball has with financial disparity. It's just not going to solve that issue right there. And I think fans need to come to terms with that because, players aren't going to be on board with it. They're just not. I think players would be open to hearing some sort of alternate to oh, wait, that's right. They do have an alternate to a salary cap, which is the competitive balance tax, and they have that at the top. Why don't they have that at the bottom?
Yes.
I mean, there's so many logical fallacies that get thrown around here. I just wish we could have an honest conversation. And part of that
difficult.
Part of that honest conversation is that a salary cap does not solve the issues that MLB purports that it would, but that also that can be true at the same time as the financial disparity among the top and bottom teams has gotten a little bit out of hand, and perhaps there are levers that can be put in place to ensure that gets mitigated at least a little bit.
And by the way, in the category of be careful what you wish for, think about the cities, the markets that are going to be in the playoffs this fall. It's all the big ones. You put in a cap, you may have some unintended consequences or maybe intended consequences. The Yankees might turn into the Jets. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, it might even the playing field to a point where less eyeballs are watching if Kansas City is playing the Marlins in the World Series as much as we might like that.
I mean, I would like it because I wouldn't have to travel. But
and you get to Florida, too.
Yeah, but if it's St. Louis, actually we have had a St. Louis Detroit World Series, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah, never again.
There you go.
Jeff, great stuff as always. Did the younger Passan escape the fence?
No, I think he went through the front door like he should have in the first place. Good.
Jeff, thanks for everything.
Talk
we appreciate
you. Soon, buddy.
Thank you, boys. Have a good one.
Yeah, there you go. We got everything there. I mean, we got a pickup report. We got a pickleball. Yeah. We got bear.
What the hell, Jesse?
Yeah, we got a new Jesse drop there
Great.
too. What the hell, Jesse? Can we add that to his open? And then we've got a Roma Dunze endorsement.
Yeah, big
Cubs
time.
and Sox too. Labor, everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.